flowers. We need to give people their flowers when they're alive, when they're doing what they're doing. Because, sometimes when you're doing these things, there are days you don't feel like doing it. So when you remember days like this, I hope that it makes you want to forge on. I hope that it gives you the strength to push ahead. This woman today in the studio, I'm yet to meet a guest as patient and sweet.
Absolutely.
As she is.
That's one thing.
The rest of the story is our own.
Don't worry.
Just know. She is a finance and business consultant and social entrepreneur. She's worked in the Nigerian private and public sectors in executive management positions.
That's right.
She teaches critical thinking and public speaking to graduate scholars at the Nigerian University of Technology and Management, NUTM, Lagos, and is the founder and executive vice chairman of Boys to Men Foundation.
She sits on the boards of companies across industries, which include System Spec Group, that's a leading software development organization in Nigeria, and is the chairman of the Remitter Payment Systems Limited. She is on the board of Sun Trust Bank Nigeria Limited, DOII Design Limited, a furniture manufacturing and interior design company. She is the chairman of the Waveline Growth Partners, a micro leader focused on supporting small businesses to promote financial inclusion.
Let's just the bells are like She's passionate about financial and business efficiency in organizations and about developing people. You can tell. She is a founding trustee of youth, gender, and environmental focused NGOs, which include Women in Management, Business and Public Service WIMBIZ.
Away from the corporate world, she loves to philosophize about life and is the author of Sounds from Silence, Musings about Men, Random Poems, Monologues and Reflections, and has just completed Melodies of My Mind poems.
Wait. Did you say Musings about Men?
So I have that book.
Musings about Men.
Musings about Men.
I would like to get. Listen, I would like an autograph copy, please.
Guess what? I have that book, and she autographed it to me. I met her in 2021. So
I'm
I
just
was
going to say I'm jealous of you right now.
You should be. So I've seen the picture. I saw her name. I'm like, I know this woman because Chima's. It came from Chima. Like, I know her. I've met her before. And so today I'm like, the Eureka moment happened, and I'm like,
yeah,
yes.
And we have a family in common.
She's the one.
Ladies, gentlemen, hermaphrodites alongside.
Yes.
Please make welcome the lovely, delectable, amazing, sweet, beautiful, intelligent, brilliant, bold, intellectual Ifeoma Idigbe.
A round of applause.
You deserve every single flower that is going to be doled out to you, and we're doing it virtual
flowers.
Virtual flowers.
Thank you so much for joining us in the studio.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's such a pleasure to have you.
Absolute pleasure.
Sorry, ma, how do you do all these things you do? Only you, one woman.
I think that in life we all have many talents that we're given. A lot of the time we don't get to find out or use them. But what I have done is that when you ask me to do something, I don't say no if I haven't done it before. And so I find that in doing that, you discover things that, I can do this. For example, writing. I've always liked to write, but I never thought of writing a book. But
books, in this case.
Even starting with a book.
And then we have books.
And then books, yes. But when Betty Irabo was starting Genevieve, she asked me if I would write a column. And I just said yes. And so I discovered that love of sharing in the written word. Because you can share on your own. If you keep diaries and things, you can write things. But you write for someone else to read and you get positive feedback. Then there's something it does about your desire to share more.
Yeah.
And that's really, writing publicly. That was how it started.
I'm going to take you back because a lot of people see the amazing you today, but we don't talk enough about where we're coming from.
Yeah.
So how tell us about your growing up and then how you started to, immerse yourself into the space that you are in right now.
Okay, growing up, My parents didn't distinguish between boys and girls. It was a case of, what are you good at? What can you do? Use your brain. And so I grew up in a family. They were both educated people. My father was a medical doctor. My mother worked, and so she worked in British Caledonia at some point. And so what it was so I could be whoever I wanted to be, and there was nothing stopping me. And so growing up that way, you never really think about challenges. When things come, you sort of meet them head on. Whatever it is you're meant to do, if you want it enough, you will go for it. And so that's what I did. But I did realize that I had a talent for the arts and the sciences. And so my mother, I remember, asked one of the Reverend Sisters, I went to a convent school, said, what should I do? And the Reverend Sister said to her, Ifeoma can be anything she wants to be.
Wow.
And so when you get that kind of feedback, there's very little that stops you. My father had wanted me to be a doctor because he was a doctor, but I didn't want to study for 6 to 9 years. I really didn't.
What did you want to do?
I didn't know at the time. So eventually I did an MBA because I just thought, yes, that'll sort of serve. And I started work in a bank in corporate finance. So I became a financial analyst. But I also knew that I liked arty things, so I collect.
Oh, she does.
I've always read.
Oh, she
My
does.
mother always bought books. So reading was not an issue. And when you read, it opens your mind to the possibilities. And so anything that came along, I just sort of felt, I can try this. Why not? I might fail, but I might not as well. And so that's really, so I grew up with that kind of open mind and the knowledge that I could really do whatever it was I wanted to do.
So your parents were quite instrumental in making you understand that there is no gender
There's no
segregation. There's no limit as to what you can do.
They never thought about it. Was never spoken about. The idea of you're a girl, you're a boy. No, it was never spoken. I'm the first girl, but not the first child.
Okay.
So my brother, I have a brother who's older than me. And it was never a conversation that can you, can't you? Never a conversation. So the first time I came across it was actually in the bank. And, I was in corporate finance. I was the first female in corporate finance. And so a man saw me
Wow.
there. And he said to me that was I the new secretary? And,
Huh?
I said, no, I'm a financial analyst. And he sort of was taken aback. And I remember being slightly amused because it was a sort of consideration that had never occurred to me, that anybody would think I was something because I was female in a department that they thought was for males.
Male dominated.
Yeah.
So this takes me to something that I know that you're so passionate about. And I'm wondering, a woman doing this thing for men, Boys to Men Foundation. Let's talk about Boys to Men Foundation, the foundation to the foundation.
Okay, good.
The foundation of the foundation.
So this is one of those stories that you think, they've come again, all these God people. I was minding my business. And the thought came to me, you should set up a foundation for men. And I just thought, who's going to do that? So we're already doing WIMBIZ. It's enough. I ignored it. A number of times that thought came to me. I kept ignoring it. So one day in October 2017, I was again minding my business. And a voice said in my mind, I've been asking you to do this and you haven't done it. If you don't want to do it, I'll ask someone else to do it. It can't be me talking to myself. It really just couldn't have been me talking to myself. And so I took it that this inspiration that I was ignoring was a requirement on my journey on this plane. And so I immediately said to my husband, so I was saying to the voice, so you know how you're sort of thinking, what's this now? So what should I call it? And what came to me was Boys to Men. I said, that's the name of a boy band.
It is.
And that was it. I didn't hear it. So I just said to my husband, can you find out if this name is available? He's a lawyer. So he called his people in Abuja and they said, yes, the name is. And I just thought, in Nigeria, where every single name has permutations and combinations, this name is available. And so that was how Boys to Men Foundation started.
So what do you do
How's
at
that?
Boys to Men?
Yeah, I just want to ask,
Okay,
what is
good.
it? What is it
So
that's
what
done?
it's
Boys to Men?
about is this. It's about changing the mindset of men. We raise our boys to think that masculinity and humanity are mutually exclusive.
Oh, Mom. Oh, can I just please give... What? Can you please repeat that?
We raise our boys to think that masculinity and humanity are mutually exclusive. They're not. They're very compatible because we're human, first of all. And so we say things like boys don't cry, boys don't talk, be a man, is our humanity. You cannot be human without being vulnerable. And so when we exclude vulnerability they're trying to avoid is ultimately what breaks them. Because when you don't acknowledge that you can't do, it's a physiological response. When you bottle it, it has to come out somehow. And the way it comes out in our men is depression, suicide, drug addiction, alcoholism, toxic masculinity. It's important to, first of all, accept your humanity. That's why women are stronger emotionally. We accept that we can't carry everything. And when it's too much, we let out a tear or two. And we tell someone, it's too much for me. This is too much for me.
Yes. Oh, you're so correct.
So the first time I ever encountered her, this phenomenal woman right here in the studio, was 2021 when we had About Men, the monologues.
Yes.
And I saw how passionate she was about it. And I began to ask her, we had to get actors to film because of COVID. We couldn't do the proper theatre play. So we had to film the theatre for the conference. I know that Boyz II Men had
our first conference,
so
yes.
Oh, awesome.
How has he been? How's the journey been getting men to understand or have conversations with them as to understand what is obtainable with everything that you've said?
You know, it's better now. One of our greatest challenges is raising money to run programs because everybody thinks, men don't need it. A lot of organizations will say, we sponsor female programs and children's programs. And people always think that NGOs should be only about charity in the sense of the weak and the poor. But it isn't. Wimbiz, for example, is not a charity like that. It's for professional women. So presumably you're making money. Professional women, whether you're in the corporate world or you're an entrepreneur. In the same way, Boyz II Men Foundation is for educated men. It's about changing their mindset. So we run leadership and life skills programs, 3 of them. The first one is called Becoming My Best Self, which we run for teenagers. The next one is It's My Time, which is for undergraduates. And then the key one for us is Owning My Space, which is for graduates. There are youth corpers that we run them with right now, and they're about to go into the workspace. We need to have them have the mindset that some of the things that they have been told before, they can change it. You have to accept your humanity. Accept that you need support from time to time. Accept that when you go into the workplace, there'll be women who are your bosses. You have to have the right attitude. You know, you don't take everything you're told, hook, line, and sinker. If when you get married, accept that your wife should support you. If you don't have money to pay school fees, there's nothing wrong with saying to her,
I don't at this moment.
If you can't pay rent, you know, there's nothing wrong with it. So don't come with that attitude, I'm a man, I must do everything. That's what's killing them. And something needs to be done. And because I have sons, I've raised 2 sons, I know that it's important for your sons to understand that they must have emotions and that they must show their emotions from time to time. And my sons don't cry at the drop of a hat, they don't, but they know when to talk about the challenges they have. And on occasion, they cry. When it's just too much, you just find a room and you cry and let it out. And that's very important. So that's the message we really have for men, that you know what? We hear what the world is saying. You're the leader, you're first among equals. That's fine. But that doesn't mean you have to do everything and be everything. And unless you accept it yourself, you can't help yourself. And increasingly, women are not tolerating bad behavior from men. So it means that also your family life is under threat if you don't pay attention to those things. A lot of them find, as you know from Omugwo, they find that in the latter parts of their years, their women are their wives are going to spend time with the grandchildren and staying there. Why are they staying there? They're staying there because they've had enough of you.
Right.
Because you didn't make time for them, and all of a sudden now, when your joints are aching, that's when you want them to want them around. And so they have to have whatever made you marry her. Maintain that relationship. If you do, she's not going to stay for Omogo. She will go and come. And anyway, why can't you go for Omogo? Who says that it's only women who should go? You know, so these are mindsets things that they have to change. It's an attitude change, and that'll lead them to behavioral change. If they don't change, the prognosis is not very good.
You know, one of the things I love about our shows is that if you're listening from Monday,
our primary constituencies, you know, we have what we call conversations. It started out as monthly conversations where men, and it used to be physical, where you'd come and talk about the challenges that you face. And we've had men burst into tears at those conversations because they've been given permission to let it all out. We've had them admit to thinking about suicide because there was nothing else they could see to do. The responsibilities were so great. And so, but now it's now virtual. So we have it, periodically. And that's one of the ones that any man can attend. And we have a lot of millennials on that one. Just come and just talk about the expectations on them, how difficult it can be, and talk about their relationships with women and how fraught they are these days and how women expect a lot. And so my response to that, very often I say, if you believe in the patriarchal society that you're the man and you have to do it all, why do you object when women ask you to do it all? And so first of all, if you can accept that you can't do it all, then that's fine. You'll be willing to accept help. And when we had these conversations, sometimes they'll say things like, oh, that if a woman helps you now, then she'll be saying this. And if she now gives you money to do something, then she'll be expecting you to pay her back. I said, but you see, she understands how you think. So money that she wants to give you, she'll tell you she'll lend you. Because if she says she's giving you, you'll feel insulted.
Insulted and
so she'll
demeaned.
say she will lend you. And now she says she's lending you, you're upset. So what is it? Pick a struggle.
Pick a struggle.
Exactly, pick a struggle. So these are some of the things. But the facts that they're having these conversations and that we're talking about these things, for me, is what is so wonderful.
Might I ask, what has been the hardest thing you found with helping men or boys, as it were, in the foundation?
I think some of them live in the days of their grandfathers and in the days of their fathers, when their fathers didn't let their mothers work or treated their mothers a particular way. And it affects them in various ways. The first is that it gives them a contempt for their mothers sometimes, which they will take along with them to their other relationships, which means that they're going to have girlfriends walking out on them. That's the first. The second is that they resent their fathers and then don't want to have anything to do with their fathers later on. So it's either of the two, because they know intrinsically that treating your father treating your mother in a particular way is really a no-no. And that in their hearts, they love their mothers. In fact, most of them get on better with their mothers than with their fathers.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I also say to them is, in the natural scheme of things, your father or your parents will die before you. And so if your father didn't know how to develop a relationship with you, you're a young adult now, you try and develop a relationship with him and show him how it can be father and son.
We literally mentioned this last week.
We literally talked about it
last week, Wednesday.
So this is important. And so those are some of the things in terms of talking to them. And then the challenge of feeling that, that if my wife has a house and I go and live in her house, that's what she'll be saying, I live in a house. But my position is this: if she's given a house by her office, save the rental income. Invest it. See it that way, as a way of overcoming financial difficulties, providing for your financial future. Because honestly, if your wife works in a company that will pay school fees for 2 or 4 children and that will send you abroad a couple of times a year and will pay your rent and provide cars, please, why do you want to live on the way to Ibadan? If they're giving you a house in Ikoyi. What's the ego thing that's happening that makes it important? And when you married her, didn't you know who she was? If you felt you didn't want a person like her helping you, why did you marry her? You see, there's always a choice in these things. So please, if you married her, you loved her enough to marry her, to accept her for her idiosyncrasies, then please, when she's in a position to help you to become more financially independent, accept that help without ego. And don't think she's thinking anything, because she may not be thinking anything.
If you're just joining us, we're
Well.
talking to the amazing Ifeoma Idigbe,
yeah.
a finance and business consultant and social entrepreneur, and among many other things, is a founder and executive vice chairman of Boys to Men Foundation.
Well, I mean, back to you, ma'am. You mentioned something about your first time that you ever heard the boy, girl, or your woman. Are you the new secretary?
Yes.
And now, so it's today's woman, and we're celebrating women. And I like
Yes.
that we've even touched base with men, seeing that this is a woman that is changing the narrative one day at a time
Yes.
of the ideologies that men have had in the past and how they have reading with it,
From
and how we need to
teenagehood
change
to adulthood.
that. But I mean, right now, today, what do you see are the challenges that women get to face in today's world?
First of all, I think women also face themselves as a challenge and their belief system.
Okay,
I
okay.
love you, man.
Because you see, we also are raised in a patriarchal world.
True.
And so we also have expectations of men. And so sometimes if your husband is not doing well, you're resentful because you feel that it's his job. So we also need to work on our mindset. If we accept that we're partners, you will know that there are seasons. When he's doing well, you are not doing well. You are doing well, he is not. And then finally, both of you are doing well because you're working together. And so they have to take away that mindset of he should be doing this, role definitions.
Ultimate provider.
Sometimes role definitions don't work. There are men who cook better than their wives.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You know, and so those things cannot be used to define. Let it be a case of what do we need to do and how do we approach it? How do we do it? You know, that's the way I look at it. And our lives, when you get married, it should be a project of achieving certain things and doing it together. It can't be, just one person. When the person can't do it, there's a problem. If it's a woman doing it, the man is resentful because he now thinks, who am I if I can't provide? And so women also need to work on their minds. Then the other thing is we raise our girls to be really strong because a mother will say, just in case your husband can't look after you, make sure you're financially independent. Okay, just in case you don't get married, make sure you're financially independent and you can do things for yourself. Make sure you can cook, you can clean. So there's this superwoman being raised. But who is going to marry this superwoman?
Where's my bill?
That's the question.
These are the questions.
We have to raise the Superman too.
Yes.
And we're not doing it because we think that men are okay, but they're not okay. But they won't say they're not okay because their ego won't let them say they're not okay.
I'm going to throw you a curveball. I know that time is not our friend, but I need to throw you this curveball. I'm sure you heard about the story of this young 18-year-old boy that impregnated 10 girls in Anambra State. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Last week it was raving. 18-year-old boy impregnated 10 girls in 5 months. In 5 months, including his boss's daughter
And the
sales
receptionist.
girl. Now, I want to talk about it from a female perspective.
Yes.
What are we not teaching our girls? Because while we say the boy impregnated these 10 girls,
It takes two
the
to
girls
tango.
had to be a part of the journey.
Absolutely. I think that very often women are more influenced by social considerations and what they see maybe on social media. Both men and women are. But maybe there's something they feel, this is how to be sophisticated, you know? And also the things that men say to girls, they're very good at playing on our emotions and our intelligence. Oh, you're not with it if you don't do this, you know, that sort of thing. And when you're young, truthfully, when you're a teenager, you're very susceptible to believing the things you're told, you know? And so he must be really, he must have the gift of speaking to be able to do that, all of these girls. And maybe they even know each other.
Right.
So what
Right.
is it? Are his parents rich? Is it that they're wanting to date somebody who has, you know, and they think if I can get him, then I'm better than the other girls? I think it's really difficult to know what's going on in
their
a lot of young
minds.
girls' heads. Yes.
So I guess as we go, one word for the girl child, one word for the boy child.
For both of them,
Okay.
you're enough.
You are enough.
You're enough.
Be you, do you. You know, that's what I'll say to you. And understands that the society may have defined roles for you, but you have the power to choose the roles you can play when you're working together. It is that, and be friends with whoever you choose to marry. Friendship
That
is
is so
critical,
important.
you know, and that's really what I'll say.
A phenomenal fashionista because she has blue hair, by the
Oh,
way.
listen.
She has blue hair, by the way.
That was the first time I was like, ooh, ma'am. I did a double back when I saw her.
Well, we have been speaking to the founder and executive vice chairman of Boys to Men Foundation, a finance and business consultant and social entrepreneur in the person of Ifoma Idibe. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for all you do for the boy child and
Thank
also for the
you.
women as well, because I see that you have something for women, Wimbies and all of that.
Yes.
That is
Well
amazing.
done, man.
Well
Thank you
done.
very
We
much.
love you. And
Thank
it's
you.
been our pleasure having you today on the show.
And you haven't given them a minute. It's just been
They're
the go.
rushed.
No,
I know.
we did that to
We
get
are gonna
all
get
of that.
so much to say.
You're going to go back to Super FM because
Oh,
I
yes.
think you have a lot to say. And I think that we need to create a space where we can actually have a longer conversation.
Conversation,
with you.
yes,
Thank
that's
you
We'll
so
make that
much.
happen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Oh,
much for
very much.
joining
Thank
us.
you.
Such a I'm feeling very. I'm feeling
She's a
very,
breath of fresh air. Like,
yes.
you're like,
Every time we do Today's Woman, we're always like, snapping. All right.